All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently, as always, for that intro to finish up. Why are people saying rant? I'm not sure. Is there something I should be ranting about? That would be quite strange. Something I missed completely. I saw some people ranting today about the Switch 2 with some pre-order struggles. Luckily, I wasn't part of that. Hold on. I need to put something here to stop boss from jumping. Here we go. Protein. There you go. Rant no showcase announcement. Gaming Survivor, Mrs. MBG decided she wants to wait for the Switch 2, which I'm in agreement with. So luckily we don't have to scramble for it. What's going on, Corey? Nicodemus? Ray, you're saying you're going to wait for the OLED Switch 2? Yeah, it seems like it was kind of a nightmare. At least with Target. That's what I saw. Boss, chill, bro. Chill. Well, this stream is literally, it just started. It's been like 60 seconds. Calm yourself. Calm yourself, boy. He's just looking at me like, so, treats? Corey, you're waiting on the Switch 2 as well. Hanzo Pro Enhanced, Reza says, shout out to Leia. Oh, you tried. Okay, you tried. Yeah, I mean, that was easily the most stressful experience when the PS5 was launching, is securing a pre-order. We have some years before the PlayStation 6 comes. So, I'm just going to hope that it's not like that again. You saw it available, but you weren't interested. Let's hope there are no, well, I guess Corey, does that make you mad? Yeah, I could have got one. Guys, we're going to be talking about Days Gone today, though, because it is the day before the Days Gone remaster. The day before the Days Gone remaster is here. But yeah, it's almost time to replay Days Gone. And I've been thinking about it, I'm kind of getting excited once again. Not the most exciting remaster in the world. I don't know that it was one that people were clamoring for, but I'm looking forward to it, man. Days Gone was one of my favorite games I played last generation. Deacon St. John Day. There we go. Will I stream it? We'll probably do some gameplay. Yeah. That would be nice. Little grumpy here. All right. The Last of Us Day before Days Gone Remastered. Go chill with Leia. Get the biker jacket out. Yeah. Boss, we can't do this. We can't. You got to stop. You got to stop, bro. So we're going to talk about Days Gone today. I kind of want to go over all the information once again, do a bit of a recap of what this remaster is going to offer, talk about Days Gone in general, and most importantly, talk about the idea of this Days Gone remaster potentially leading into a proper sequel, which by this point in time, we should have had one, but we didn't get one. Not yet. I say yet. We have no idea if we will ever get one. But we can hope, right? If there was ever a chance for something to be the catalyst for a Days Gone sequel, I think this is it. But will the Switch 2 be the cheapest at launch? Did somebody just flashbang me? No, I forgot to turn my screen brightness down. Watch them reveal a Days Gone sequel at Summer Game Fest or State of Play. I don't think that would happen. Okay. Hold on, boss. Let's knock down the camera. I don't think a Days Gone sequel would be announced at an upcoming event because I feel like that's something that would need some time, right? We did cover earlier in the year how Sony Ben's live service game that they were developing was abruptly canceled, which was very unfortunate. Maybe some people were indifferent to it because they didn't want a live service game from Ben's studio. But at the same time, we did kind of understand that, okay, so Days Gone 2 is not on the docket right now. And Corey the Legend comes in and drops 5 membership gifts for you guys. He clearly sees Boss over here trying to torture me once again to get those treats. Corey, thank you so much for that, man.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
Stop that. You're going to turn the computer off, damn it. I'm telling you, Boss is getting crazier and crazier. Corey, thank you for kicking off what'll hopefully be another member train today. Yeah, if you guys want to help support the channel, support the content, and support Boss's snacking, consider dropping some membership gifts or becoming a channel member. So obviously we took a break from like members content this month. It's not going to stay that way though. We will be getting back to members content. I just needed to, honestly, I needed the time to be able to take on a lot of stuff that I was trying to do. So I do appreciate you guys your understanding with that. But yeah, we'll definitely be bringing back some members content, probably starting in May. Put Boss in a chokehold. Well, no, I think that would qualify as animal abuse. I don't think that would be right. But thank you for your input, Michael. At least today, Bits is playing Days Gone Remaster, and he compares the remaster with the Horizon Forbidden West enhancement. Can't wait. Really? I didn't see that. I must have missed that. That's actually... Really? That is quite surprising. Oh my God, this screen is... I really got to lower the brightness on the screen. Let me check. Days Gone Remastered PS5 Pro Gameplay Enhanced Mode. That's all I see currently. That's great, though, if that's true. Lux with a super chat says Oblivion Remaster's peak was 190,119 players on Steam. 20-year-old game. Why is it Sony games struggle on it? The Last of Us 1, 36K. Part 2, 30K. Days Gone, 27K. Ghost of Tsushima, 77K. Out of those 4, I think Sony probably did consider Ghost of Tsushima the biggest success there. 77K I don't think is bad. I don't know. I mean, I think this is a situation where Oblivion is a special game, right? Like I don't know that it's fair to try to compare a game like The Elder Scrolls Oblivion to games like The Last of Us, especially if you're talking about Part 1, which is a remake of a remaster, or Part 2 remastered. And I know that it's the first time it's on PC, so there is that. But even something like Days Gone, I feel like the truth is Sony doesn't have a game that I can think of that they could remaster that would have the same type of reaction that Oblivion has, or the reaction that we saw with Oblivion, because Oblivion, it's a special game, dude. I'm not saying Sony doesn't have special games. I think people were just shocked. They're like, this is a 20-year-old game, and we can't believe how much, like, they understood the assignment. Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, Bloodborne, I would say, could do that. Bloodborne isn't 20 years old, but Bloodborne's probably the only one that I can think of. I mean, Infamous would be nice, but I don't think Infamous would get the same reaction. Metal Gear Online, well, I mean, my reaction would be insane. Sony going to remake that Metal Gear Online, working with Konami. Let's make it happen. Bloodborne would cause waves. I think Sony, they have made it pretty clear, at least with the previous leadership. I don't know if this is going to change, that they want to keep focused on their big franchises that they're trying to aggressively grow, right? This is why we keep seeing these games that we don't really feel like need remasters or remakes getting remastered and remade. And when it comes to the impact that they're trying to have on Steam, I mean, I don't know. If I was Sony, the only thing I could walk away thinking when looking at Oblivion and how it's doing on Steam and just how it's doing in general and the reaction to that is we have to look at our older IP, right? From the PS3, PS2 era, maybe even the PS1 era, and really try to figure out, like, is there any game here that we could, hell, maybe we can even contact Virtuous Studio and see if they could remake it. They clearly did a very good job, and get a similar level of praise and excitement, and have people kind of turn around on, like, the feeling of, wow, you know what? I don't feel the need to be critical of Sony now because they're actually doing a remaster slash remake that I actually want. You know, they're gonna give Virtuous Skyrim next. But yeah, man, seeing the reaction to the Oblivion remaster, I do think that it does show that when you take these older games, and I can actually say this for Silent Hill 2 Remake as well, these older games that people are nostalgic for, I really believe that if Sony were to put a greater emphasis on trying to bring those up in meaningful ways, they would not only turn around the, I would say, reputation of, it's just like remaster Station 5 or whatever, but people would feel good about it. People wouldn't sigh and moan and groan and be like, oh, I'm tired of this. They would actually be excited. So whether or not they're going to do that, your guess is as good as mine. But I do think that there is some kind of lesson to be learned here when it comes to Sony, because yes, they love to remaster and remake games. But it does seem like a lot of Sony studios do put out these remasters and these remakes in between their projects to continue to fund the studio and allow the studio to make some kind of money as they're working on these 5, 6, 7 year long AAA games, right? But but yeah, I mean, it's ironic because we're sitting here talking about Days Gone Remastered, and I'm very excited for this game, mainly because, like I said, Days Gone was one of my favorite games last generation. It's a game that I do believe did not get enough credit. Not saying it's the best game ever made, certainly not. It's not perfect, it has faults, but it's a game that I think, unfortunately, its potential was mitigated due to, I think, some poor reviews. I think there was a problem when Days Gone originally released where they put out a patch day one, but for all the reviewers, they were playing the unpatched version, and there were quite a few issues that they were running into where, like, that day one patch was definitely needed. And I think it really did hurt their review scores or the review score potential. Um, it's it's crazy because if you look at the response from the PlayStation community and the Days Gone community and just the general gaming community over on the PlayStation YouTube channel or anywhere else where they're posting about this remaster, literally all anybody's talking about is, we need a sequel. We need a Days Gone 2. And I've talked to you guys before about Sony Bend's game abruptly being canceled, a live service game that I don't think anybody was necessarily asking for. Now, Sony Bend is in a position where they have to pitch another game. It seems obvious to me the studio's not going to get shut down, thankfully. And it seems like they're going to be given another chance to pitch a new game. At this point, I feel like they have to pitch a Days Gone 2. I mean, I'm not really sure what else they would want to do. I guess that they would maybe consider doing a new single player IP, which I would be excited for that as well. But I mean, they're doing the Days Gone remaster. It seems like people who have played it or are playing it right now, it seems like they're happy with it. I'm going to find out myself tomorrow. And yeah, man, I guess I just kind of have this hope that new people end up giving Days Gone a chance because I do think it wasn't like it sold well, but I still think it was overlooked. I think people kind of looked at it as like, it's a mediocre or just bad game, right? It's a super unoriginal game, and when it comes to the originality, I will admit it's not the most original game, but I think it does what it does very well. I do. And I'm glad to see it get some kind of second chance here with this remaster. I don't know how well it's going to do. It's nice that they're doing a $10 upgrade, but I really want to see this succeed so we can get a proper sequel. Cuz believe me, if you played this game and you did everything in it and you got the real ending, it was a major cliffhanger ending where they definitely had a sequel ready to go. So Lux with another super chat says, I think we may have to wait for the future inevitable Days Gone remastered on PlayStation 6 for them to maybe consider a part 2 depending on sales. Oof, I hope not, man. I mean, at that point, I don't want to say it's too late, but it's like I mean, the big question I would have is like, well, what has Ben doing this whole time, you know? I mean, you're saying it's not even unreasonable. I mean, this is kind of the problem, right? With Ben Studio in particular and this IP is it's like we were under the impression for I would say a while after the launch of Days Gone that we heard it sold very well. We were under the impression that oh yeah, we're going to be playing a Days Gone 2 by around this time, 2024, 2025, 2026. But that's for one reason or another. I mean, we do know the reason. And I've mentioned this numerous times when talking about Sony Ben, but for anybody who maybe forgot or doesn't know, Sony, it's not Sony's fault necessarily that Days Gone 2 didn't happen. It is technically their fault because they control the studio and they have final say at the end of the day. But Sony allowed Bend to decide for themselves what they want to do next. And Bend as a studio seemed to have a bit of conflict internally where a large portion of that studio did not want to make a sequel to Days Gone. The leadership at Bend Studio did want to make a sequel to Days Gone. They had a sequel mapped out, and it seems like the way it ended was there was almost like a civil war seemingly inside of that studio, and the side that wanted to make a sequel to Days Gone ended up losing out, and they left and they departed the studio. And you do have to wonder if maybe that was a critical mistake, right? That the leadership that ended up taking over that clearly didn't want to make a Days Gone sequel, that maybe they really messed up because look at where they are now, right? You can say what you want about the previous leadership at Sony Bend, but they made, they directed Days Gone, they wrote that game, they got it out at the end of the PS4 generation, and it sold a ton of copies, and it was an objective success. Critically, maybe not as much, but still a success nonetheless when it comes to the bottom line. The new leadership decided, let's go with a live service game only to have it canceled, halfway through development. And I feel like when you look back at this, it's fairly obvious that, yeah, the leadership that was in place previously that said we should definitely make a sequel to this that's going to be bigger and better in every way is what they should have done. Because if that's what they stuck with, then right now we would be playing Days Gone 2 or hyping up Days Gone 2 rather than a remaster of the original game. So now the next best thing I can do is hope that this remaster does well and ignites a bit of a spark and makes people and also Sony, maybe even Ben Studio themselves realize that, you know what, we did make a really good game and we have a pretty large fan base here. We should serve this fan base. And I'm fairly certain that if they made a Days Gone 2, if they could get that out at truthfully, it wouldn't be ready by the end of this generation, but let's just say it's a cross-gen game. after the first year of the PS6 launches, releases on PS6, PS5, I'm certain that game will clear 10 million no problem. I'm pretty certain of that. So did all of the leadership leave or just half? I don't even think it was half, but it really seems like the thing that I remember is that John Garvin and Jeff Ross, these were the two leads at Sony Bend, and they were there since the formation of that studio. And they were also bikers, I think. So like everything about Days Gone was kind of like it was their idea essentially. And it just seemed like a lot of the studio was, for one reason or another, not on board with making this type of game. But I'll be honest, it seems like Bend Studio is a bit fickle, because I also heard reports, and I think it was actually reported on, that they were given the opportunity to create an Uncharted game. And they were like, no, we don't want to be like Naughty Dog South or whatever. And so it just seems like they're kind of being, I don't know the inner workings per se, but it just seems to me that like they don't really know what they want to do. And I think that's a problem. Or at the very least, the thing that they wanted to do, this live service game, it got canceled. So even though that's what they wanted to do, it didn't work out and it was not a success. Not even, we can't even say it wasn't a success. It just didn't come together. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but I just feel like if you are the leadership at Sony Bend, I'm not saying you need to make a Days Gone 2, but I feel like the best path forward as of right now is likely to pitch a Days Gone 2 to Sony, get that green light, get a good budget for that, and then after that, if that succeeds, then if you want to do something new, do it then when your studio is a bit safer, a bit more secure. In between that, you can do a Days Gone 2 remaster for the PlayStation 6. I feel like that's the best path forward, but I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. Lux, thank you for the super chats, buddy. You're saying, you said to me before that Sony put critical acclaim over a game's success, which I think is crazy since they are a business, but it would explain why there's no sequel. It wasn't a Game of the Year contender. Yeah, there is truth to that. For better or for worse, Sony does put a massive amount of stock into how their first-party games are received critically. We know about this with a game like The Order 1886. From what we understand, The Order 1886 sold very well, but it didn't review well. And there was an interview recently with the former head of, what was the studio that made Until Dawn? I know Santa Monica helped on it. Somebody will get it for me. But the head of the studio that made that game, which is unfortunately they closed now, he straight up said that if they had just gotten like a couple more points, I think, for Ready at Dawn, thank you. Yeah, it was on the tip of my tongue there. He said, and he went on record saying, if they just got a couple more, points, Metacritic, they would have gotten a sequel. And he did say that they had to remove a bunch of stuff and cut a bunch of stuff at the end because they were reaching their deadline where it's like, you got to ship it. And it's so unfortunate because it's like, that's where Sony, I think, should have had enough foresight to realize that, okay, guys, I understand you feel like this game is tainted or the property's tainted because it didn't review well, but you got to give it a proper second chance, because I assure you that if Ready at Dawn was given a little bit more time and they were able to flesh out the world of The Order 1886, that would be a major franchise for Sony right now. I am convinced of that. And I feel the exact same way for Days Gone. And maybe that's the leverage that the studio had internally, Maybe when there was that little, I keep referring to it as a civil war. I could be wrong. Maybe it's not that serious. But when there's a bit of conflict internally, maybe the side of the studio that said they didn't want to make a Days Gone was like, guys, the game didn't review well. So Sony, you have to imagine that if the game reviewed very well and was sitting at like in the 80s on Metacritic and it sold as well as it did, I imagine Sony would walk in and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You guys are making a sequel to this, right? And I think that anybody who didn't want to would have kind of been like, well, yeah, I guess we have to, right? Like, we don't have any leverage here. We don't have any leverage to justify doing something completely new or different. For better or for worse, that is how Sony operates. You know, they do very much care about the reviews, man, and the critical reception. It seems like there's a threshold they have. Delwyn Jones with a generous super chat here. Thank you for that, buddy. Saying, really looking forward to Days Gone Remastered. Love the game so much. Added new content. It's great to have to keep me going playing on my PS5 Pro. One thing Ben should do is a physical disc on PS5, but hey, a 10-pound upgrade, you can't complain. Yeah, that's kind of the double-edged sword of this, in my opinion, where for one reason or another, they're not doing a physical version for Days Gone, and that makes me sad / a little bit frustrated because it feels like they've done a physical release for almost every other remaster that we've gotten this generation. But I think that might be a studio decision, and people are kind of holding out hope that if this does do better than they expect, and there's like, people are picking it up, whether it's upgrading or buying it flat out, they might say, oh, there's quite a bit of demand for this. Let's now announce a physical version. But that is the only negative. But yeah, it's kind of like what you're saying here, Delwyn. It's $10, right? If you already own the game, whether that be physically or digitally. It's hard to really complain when it's like you're going to get the stuff for just a $10 upgrade. And that's why I'm really excited to hear that apparently the upgrade is better than we thought. It's getting some really positive feedback. I can't wait to re-experience this game because, I mean, I'm familiar with it. Obviously, I platinumed it, I beat it, but I'm far enough removed from it that I forgot a lot of it. I remember bits and pieces. I remember certain things, but I'm going into it relatively fresh. I haven't played Days Gone since I beat it and platinumed it in 2019. The one thing I was looking at though, because you can transfer your save file over, I noticed that, man, where's my save file? I was looking at all the games I was playing in like 2019, and I have no idea why, but Days Gone is just, it's gone. Like the save file's gone, and I'm like, how is it? Like, all my other save files are there except that one. I'm like, I'm not like that upset because it's like, yeah, I actually am okay with the idea of replaying it and getting all those trophies, but no, I don't believe I played it on a different PlayStation. That's the thing. But Delwyn, thank you so much for the super chat, man. And I love the enthusiasm. I know we're talking critically right now about not getting a sequel and what's going on with Ben Studio, but I am very happy that this game is seemingly getting some kind of second chance here. And I know some people cringe at the idea of getting a remaster for a game that came out in 2019, but I want to encourage people that if you didn't play Days Gone and you're willing, give this game a shot, I think you might enjoy it. It's a good game. It's a little bit slow at the beginning, so you got to stick with it for a little bit, but it really picks up. Once you start taking on those hordes, I think you'll see the greatness of Days Gone. Digital Dude 25 with a $5 super chat says The Last of Us 2 got a 93 on Metacritic. There's no way we aren't getting a part 3. I agree with that, Digital Dude. I tend to agree with that. Josh, I do have cloud save, and that's why I'm very confused why it's not there. But Digital Dude, talking about The Last of Us, so we know that Naughty Dog has 2 games in development right now. They have Intergalactic, The Heretic Prophet, and a mystery game. For a long while, we assumed that second game was The Last of Us Part 3, and it still could be. We don't have any proof that it's not. But there was a rumor that popped up very recently that claimed another game, which I assume is the second game, is in development at Naughty Dog, and it's being helmed by Sean Eskag, who did, I think, the Uncharted Lost Legacy spinoff. And I think the only thing that the rumor said or claimed definitively is that it's not The Last of Us. It's not The Last of Us Part 3. So I think we are going to get a Last of Us Part 3, but I just think it's not going to be until basically the end of the PlayStation 6, like the second half of the PlayStation 6 generation. I think it's going to be a very long time. Now, maybe I'm completely wrong, and it turns out that they've been working on it this whole time, and they have like a third smaller project in development alongside it. I guess that's a possibility. But given the way Neil Druckmann has talked about The Last of Us and seemingly really trying to push towards this, like, don't expect it, I don't think he's saying they're never going to do it. I'm kind of reading that as him saying it's not happening right now. Like, it will, but it's nowhere near being a thing. But you also have to ask yourself about The Last of Us HBO and the overwhelming success of that show, and how there's no denying that because of the success of that show, you're going to see Sony and HBO push to, like, they're going to want to keep that going. So the worst thing that could happen is we don't get a game, but instead we end up getting like a season 4, 5, and 6 or something that basically turns into The Last of Us Part 3. We get it in show form before we get it in game form, and that would be bad. Josh, by the way, yeah, I did check that. I checked the PS4 category, and it wasn't there, man. I don't know. I had games saved in the PS4 section of my cloud saves that were older than Days Gone, and Days Gone just wasn't there. I have no idea. Like, I'm truly perplexed. I was like, I put 100 hours in this game and I platinumed it. Like, why would it not be there? But you know, it's okay. I'm okay with it because I want to go into it fresh. It's definitely a bug. Oh, geez. About to play Expedition 33. I hope you enjoy it, man. Lux, you're saying here Sony wants to grow franchises. The Last of Us 3 PS6 launch. That's why I'm thinking maybe they are secretly working on The Last of Us Part 3, and that will be like a launch window title because, yeah, that would be a big one, dude. That would be a huge launch window title. I will play it. I'm not gonna front and pretend that I'm not gonna play The Last of Us Part 3. I don't know how I'll feel about it. But I can't deny that, this is the same reason why I'm still excited for Intergalactic, where it's like, regardless of the studio politics and whatnot, I can't deny that, dude, Naughty Dog, their talent, it gets me excited. It does. Like, I can't deny that the gameplay I experienced in The Last of Us Part 2 is some of the best gameplay I've experienced in any video game, some of the most intense, and I love that. And so, regardless of what direction they want to go in story-wise, character-wise with some of their titles, I'm always on board to see and partake in a new Naughty Dog gameplay experience. No doubt about that. And I'll tell you what, another reason I actually am going to root for The Last of Us Part 3 and I want it to happen is because there's a very good chance, at least I want to believe, maybe I'm just coping right now, I want to believe that there's a very good chance we are going to get a Last of Us Factions 2. Proper Factions 2 shipping with The Last of Us Part 3 to make up for it not being there with Part 2 like it was supposed to be. So I'll definitely be rooting for that. Don't fall for the culture vulture drama. They aren't gamers, they're tourists. A lot of them are not actually gamers. Yeah, that's the sad part. That's why I'm not interested in listening to anybody who clearly doesn't really play video games talk about video games. I'm not saying you have to be a person that's playing the most video games, but there are definitely too many people out there that barely engage with video games, but talk as if they're experts and masters, and it's like, come on, bro. Give it up. Lux, you're saying another reason no Days Gone 2, straight white male lead. Well, I will say, Lux, that when it comes to Days Gone in particular, yes, there was a little bit of drama, unfortunately, and I think it hurt the game, dude. Like, I remember pushing back against it, and this was back in 2019 when I was nowhere near anything political whatsoever. But I did see that there are straight up reviews coming out giving this game a 5 out of 10 from people insinuating that it's a problem, that it's another gruff white male. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, dude. You got to be kidding me. And I'm going to, I've been trying to keep that same energy, and I think I've been doing a relatively good job where I remember defending Days Gone at that time, saying his skin color and his gender doesn't matter. You shouldn't be judging the game based on that. And I'm keeping that energy now where it's like, that's why when I play Ghost of Yotei, like I saw there was an article written up by Insider Gaming, and they were reporting on an interview that the Sucker Punch executives did where they were straight up asked why the main lead is a female, which, I think there's a very obvious reason why that question was asked. And I didn't, I read their answer, and their answer was basically this game takes place in an area where you wouldn't expect a female to be because it's very dangerous and it's quite surprising. Something along those lines. I'm like, okay, I guess like not an offensive answer or anything, but I just don't think you need to answer that question. You know what I mean? Like that shouldn't even be a question that they entertain where it's like it doesn't matter why there's a female lead. That's just what they wanted to do, and that's fine. The only thing that actually matters is this character interesting? Is her story engaging and gripping? Is it well written? Those are the questions that should be asked, and we are going to get our answers. But that's why that same exact logic applies to Days Gone, where it's like for the people back in 2019 who were like, oh, it's another gruff white male lead. Who cares? Judge the game based off of the game itself. Judge the performance based off the performance. Sam Witwer, I think that's the name of the actor who played Deacon St. John. He did a great job. Why has it got to be a problem because he's a white dude? There's no problem there. Just like, the actress who's doing, I forget her name. Jordan, I think, is the name of the character in Intergalactic. It's like she is an actual actor. If she does a great job for that character, that's all that matters. That should be all that matters. Are they doing a good job or not? Are they bringing life to the characters in the story? That's all that should matter, dude. And there's no denying that Days Gone, unfortunately, suffered a bit during that time where I saw more people than I would have liked to see, and especially certain gaming outlets. And I made videos covering this stuff, focused on the wrong things. And it was frustrating me because I'm like, guys, this is an awesome game and you're hurting it. You are hurting the perception of this game with your nonsensical BS takes over stuff that you're focused on the wrong things, But it's only gotten worse since then, unfortunately. Delwyn Jones with another very generous super chat. Delwyn, thank you so much, buddy. You're saying PlayStation community loves Days Gone so freaking much. They're probably getting one last shot, hopefully, with the Days Gone remaster. If we get a lot of numbers, we might get a green light for a Part 2 sequel if that turns really well, or if it turns out better than the previous one. Yeah, that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier, Delwyn. I really want to, focus in on this game because in the same way that I was just covering Claire Obscure Expedition 33, people were asking me if I think if that game's going to get a sequel, and I'm like, yeah, it absolutely will, and it should, because this game is very, very good. And I think a lot of people are going to be quite surprised at how good it was. The difference between a game like Claire Obscure and Days Gone, unfortunately, is that they reviewed polar opposites. I'll tell you this right now. If Days Gone came out at a 92, we would be playing a Days Gone 2 remaster right now, probably on PlayStation 5. But I'm always rooting for these new games that I play, these new IP that I'm like, they're done very well. And there are certain aspects, I think, for all new IP where it's like, you're not going to have pure perfection with any new IP, at least usually. That is very uncommon, right? And I'm always rooting for these games because it's like, some games I think do a better job at realizing their full potential. Like I think Days Gone did a very good job at kind of realizing most of its potential, but there were certain areas where it's like you could see room for improvement. It reminds me very much of Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm not trying to compare Days Gone to Ghost of Tsushima, but I will compare them in one sense, which is they were both new IPs and they were both doing things that were not necessarily original. it's how they handled it. It's how they presented it, and the fact that it's like, I think Ghost of Tsushima as well as Days Gone represent games that it's like you don't have to be the most original game in the world. You just have to be a well-made game. You just got to do it right and do it very well. And if you do that, people will flock to it. If you build it, they will come, right? And I think Days Gone was that, and that's why I got so defensive with Days Gone back in 2019 because it was kind of sad at the time to see like, man, I know I'm not crazy. Like this game is good. This game is very good. It's not perfect, but it's very good. And I think people are I'm seeing too many people treat it as if it's a very mediocre game. Like it's truly mediocre and just like bleh, and I'm like, that's not. I understand it's like a zombie game, and others I understand that, but I'm like, trust me, there are some things here that are done very well. And I think if you give it a chance, you'll see that. So Delwyn, once again, man, I really appreciate your enthusiasm, and I'm right there with you. I am absolutely rooting for Days Gone and hoping that we can get some kind of sequel. Uh, it would be unfortunate if 4 to 5 years from now we're in a situation where it's like there's still no announcement of a Days Gone 2. We still don't know what Ben Studio's working on, but yet we have an announcement of a Days Gone PS6 remaster, upgrade, whatever. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Days Gone, but I don't want to just keep playing the same game, right? I want to see the biggest reason I want to see a sequel is because, like I said, they did so many things so well. You can tell that like there's so many different directions they can go in for improvement. Kind of like, so continuing the comparison to a degree between Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima, if you look at where we are right now with Ghost of Yote, I think represents exactly what I'm talking about. Where Ghost of Tsushima, I thought was an incredible game. I mean, I don't know if I would call it. I mean, to me, it felt kind of like a masterpiece, but at the same time, I know it's not. In some ways, I know it's not a masterpiece. Like it does have some shortcomings, some areas that probably needed more refinement in order for it to be considered a true masterpiece. But what I know is that after reading what they're doing with Ghost of Yote and the new mechanics that they're implementing and fleshing combat out with new weapons and enhancing exploration and all these different things that unfortunately I failed to cover properly yesterday in the stream, but they're doing all these things to just make that Ghost experience even better. That's exactly what I would have expected for a Days Gone 2. And I feel like in an alternate reality, we would be sitting here talking not only about Ghost of Yote, the follow up, to um to Ghost of Tsushima, one of the best games that came out at the end of the PS4 lifecycle, but also a Days Gone 2, right? Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut was amazing. We have a direct donation from Moonshot, and it looks like it's going to be either 2 parts or a couple of parts. So I'll give it. Well, I'll let Josh tell me. Josh, you let me know if I should read this or wait. I don't know if you're still going. I'll just give it a minute. Days Gone 2, but in a city. Oh, that would be sick. Something like that would be crazy. By the way, guys, I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, hit that like button. We're almost at 100 likes. It really helps the stream. Consider gifting memberships if you want to help support the content. You guys are dropping super chats, which definitely help a lot. Become a channel member, all that good stuff. I can only do this on the channel because you guys make it possible. I'm very grateful for that. Days Gone 2, I Am Legend. When I first heard about Ghost, I thought it was literal. And I was like, no, I hate ghosts. Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, you literally play as a ghost. Be a very different game. Robert, you're saying, so Metal Gear will carry me into Yote. Sweet, super hyped. I was thinking of that too. I was thinking yesterday how I'm going to map out the trajectory of the games that I'm going to play. Because, yeah, man, there's a lot. There's a lot right now. There will continue to be a lot. And the thing is, with Days Gone, if I remember correctly, when I played it originally, I had to take my time with it. I did take my time with it, and I was very thorough, and I put over 100 hours into it, and I'm like, well, I kind of want to play it that way again. So it's gonna take me a while to do that, or to do everything in that game I want to do. Um, the big thing that I'm focused on is I got to make sure it's done before Death Stranding 2. That's the big thing I have to make sure of. But then there's also that other Sony published game. Why can't I think of anything? I can't think of names today for some reason. Um, Lost Soul Aside. I got it. I got it before I read it, but it took way longer than it should have. But yeah, Lost Soul Aside's coming out, and that looks very good too. I want to make sure to play that. And I don't know how long that's going to be. Was I ever good at names? I have some good days. Tarnish, you're saying hi, people, and you said MBF, but I'm sure you meant MBG. You're one of the best streamers, I swear to God. Well, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. Monster Hunter Wilds will keep me going until GTA 6. I mean, Monster Hunter Wilds is a massive game. Yeah, and Capcom's clearly going to support that for a long time. GTA 6 is what's scaring me more than anything. Like, here's the real question. Am I going to be done with Ghost of Yote before GTA 6? Because that's going to be a problem, if not. I want to take my time with that game. Okay, Kapapa with a super chat says, I bought the Days Gone Remastered as a pre-order to support the studio and hopefully to get a sequel. Now I learned that PC players get remastered. Silly me. Okay, Kapapa, what do you mean they're getting some upgrades for the PC version as well? I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. Oh, you're saying for free? Yeah, I guess the question I have there, though, right, is like, I don't know what the upgrades are that PC players are getting for free, but if you don't have a strong enough rig to run that, how much does that matter? Like, so what I'm trying to say is, like, there are Days Gone players who are going to get that upgrade for free, but it's not actually even going to do anything, right? If not that, there's also the idea that I think I could be mistaken. Well, see, Gaming Survivor's mentioning it. He's saying it's not for free. The new modes are still paid for. Some of the tech improvements are free. Yeah, that's what I could have swore I read something like that. Where I'm like, that doesn't seem quite right. Like, I don't think Sony would just flat out give everything for free to PC players. Saying that still sucks, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, I understand the frustration, but this is why I try to tell people, like, and I don't mean it to be rude. I'm just trying to be honest. Where it's like you can always go to PC. Like if free on PC sounds better to you, like you are free to go to PC and enjoy that free upgrade. You know, but I am hopeful that I would like to see Ben Studio make a little bit of money on this because, yeah, I think that's going to be critical for the studio right now. Truthfully, I hope that people on PC who didn't even play the Days Gone PC version maybe pay attention to it now and buy it full price or whatever, because it's like, after getting their AAA game canceled, 3-4 years of development down the drain, the studio is definitely going to need to make a little bit of money. Something, right? Sure, MBG, I have a spare $3,500. I'm going to grab that PC up right now. Well, see, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think, I'm not trying to get into the space of arguing, because that's why I try not to even talk about it anymore, because it just, the arguments get so tired. But I just think people who talk about PC gaming as if it's just the simplest, easiest, most convenient way to game, I think are just flat out wrong. And I think that some people on the internet kind of compensate for that by trying to like belittle people and make it sound like, oh, that's just because you're stupid or dumb or don't know what you're doing. And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure PC just requires a little bit more, sometimes a lot more, to really get the ideal experience that you want. You know, that's my experience anyway. But we have PlayStation Pete here with the super chat, and he says, I pre-ordered the Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart bundle. Well, congratulations, PlayStation Pete. You're going to have to rename your name to Nintendo Pete, though. Right? That's good, though, man. I saw some people saying that they weren't, they weren't finding such luck, which is unfortunate. If you appreciate pressing a button to go, don't come to PC. It's an interesting way to put it, Capono. But I want to encourage people, like whether you're on PS5, whether you're on PC, give Days Gone a chance, man. Give it a chance. I can't promise you'll love it as much as I do, but I think you'll see that there's actually a pretty damn good game there. Now, if you have no interest whatsoever, I don't want to necessarily say, no, you should do it anyway. If you know you're not going to enjoy Days Gone, I understand. But I'm excited. I'm excited for this remaster. I'm much more excited. I'll tell you what, I'm much more excited about this remaster than I was Horizon Zero Dawn. Because frankly, I just enjoyed Days Gone much more than Horizon Zero Dawn. I did enjoy Horizon Zero Dawn. That was a very well-made game too. Definitely had a great time with it, but I don't know, Days Gone is just more my cup of tea, I guess you could say. John, you're saying I used to be a hardcore PC gamer, but keeping up with the rig, yearly upgrades just became untenable. I switched to PS4 in 2015 and haven't looked back. So much easier on console. Josh, thank you for letting me know. I'll read that in just a moment then. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, man. That's why I know people get like frustrated when you talk about some of the negatives or some of the cons of console gaming, but I'm like, I don't know, man. At the end of the day, there's something about how streamlined it is that has always, and will always appeal to me. MBG just relates more to the hat-inclined protagonist. On a subconscious level, though. On a subconscious level, I do have to wonder if there's truth to this. I do have to wonder. We have a direct donation from Josh. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, I'm 380 hours in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I've almost completed it. This may be the best game I've ever played. Maybe not personally, but objectively. Well made and executed. That's some seriously high praise right there, Josh. That is some very high praise. I gotta say, I'm not too surprised, though, because the way that I've been seeing people talk about Kingdom Come Deliverance, I mean, I just got off of talking about Claire Obscura Expedition 33, but prior to that game launching, I've seen a lot of people expressing just how blown away they were by Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And it's interesting to see these AA teams or these smaller dev teams produce these games that are not made by 200 people, that do not cost $250 million to make, right? And yet they are being talked about as Game of the Year contenders. I mean, genuine Game of the Year contenders. That's very impressive. You're saying it's just really well made, man, and the systems they have in place are so deep, it's nuts. The writing is top tier. You love to see it. You love to see it. Perfect Image with a $2 direct donation as well says Mafia Old Country, Ghost 2 comes out October 2nd, GTA 6 maybe November. I'm going to be playing these 3 games. I hope I can find what's priority. Yeah, so I think you'll be fine with Mafia because apparently Mafia Old Country comes out August 8th, which is another game I would like to play. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to because it's like I definitely want to make sure the way is clear for Metal Gear Solid Delta. That absolutely takes priority for me. But Mafia the Old Country looks good. But I think you'll be good there because that comes out August 8th. And then you're saying Ghost. The real question is the proximity of Ghost of Yotei to GTA 6. I think that's the real question. And yeah, there's also Borderlands 4, September 23rd. A lot of people were walking away from the release date announcement of Ghost of Yotei yesterday, pretty much assuming that Sony does know the release date for GTA 6. And that would make a lot of sense. It does seem like Sony was kind of waiting to announce the release date for Ghost of Yotei. And maybe they had just gotten word of like, okay, it's going to be the first week of November. And so, you know, Sony was like, all right. Like I said yesterday, though, and it's definitely worth repeating, it could just simply be that they don't know the date and they're just really hoping it's not going to be the first 2 weeks of October. It seems unlikely, though, because if they really were just putting it out there on a limb, like hoping they don't run into GTA, I think they would have targeted August or something. Reliable sources said that in GTA 6 marketing with Sony will start in May. Who are the sources, though? I mean, I would believe that. It sounds about right, but I would also be curious to know like what the supposed sources are. Marathon releasing near Borderlands 4 probably isn't a smart move. I saw people were playing the alpha. Has anybody here played the Marathon alpha? If Sony has the marketing rights, then they will know the date. I agree with that, Sean. That would be a good way for them to know. You're in the Marathon alpha right now. It's amazing. Well, that's good to hear. Saying it's a very fun game. Boss, bro, I can't keep you on my lap. There's not enough room. There's not enough room. Go away. 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 Did anybody get that Bloodborne reference? Boss is a beast. Guys, we're sitting at 5 memberships on the day, which I very much appreciate. I'm just going to lightly encourage everybody. Let's push for that 25 mark so we can give this guy what he wants because he's clearly not going to relax until he gets what he wants. People are complaining on Twitter about the aim assist mouse and key have on Marathon. Really? Yeah, I didn't see much discussion happening. I know that people are allowed to openly talk about it now because they got rid of the NDA. You can't go up there, boss. But this cat. Am I going to wait for the new God of War Cypher? God of War Cypher? What's that? Dragonite says, members donate. Patrick says, smash the like button. Yeah, hit that like button if you haven't. That definitely helps. I always encourage people to hit the like button because it does help with YouTube's algorithm. Oh, you're talking to Knight of Cypher. Okay. Sean Mitchell with a super chat says, I feel like Sony and Take-Two wouldn't be far off discussing marketing now. And then they want to kick it all off. I mean, the timing sounds right. I agree with you there, Sean. Boss, for the love of all that is holy, you are going to destroy my microphone. Oh, easy. Going to have to move myself over here. Stay away from me, boss. Sean, getting back to your super chat, I agree with you. I think the timing of this, I mean, I suspect we're going to hear from Sony in May. I don't want to get my hopes too high, but the past 2 years, that's when Sony has put on some kind of show or talked. How are you still making it? Bro, look at this guy. How are you still making it over here? I got a Slinky Cat. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts if Sony has the marketing rights to GTA 6. I mean, I I think it's safe to say that Rockstar and Take-Two don't need Sony. I think it's safe to say that Sony would it's not going to matter if Sony doesn't have the marketing rights because it's not going to have any negative ramifications on how well it's going to, sell the PS5, but if they have those marketing rights, dude, that's going to be big for Sony. I think that's going to be bigger for Sony than it will be Take-Two Interactive, that's for sure, which is why I would be a little bit surprised. Figuratively Literal with a super chat says, picked up Oblivion day one. Wish it had a physical, though. Still, Oblivion and Fallout 3 are two of my top 10 games of all time. So I got to get them ASAP. And I understand that. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused as well because the leaked marketing materials did show like a boxed copy of Oblivion for Xbox. And it just doesn't exist apparently. I don't know if it's going to come later on. But as of right now, it seems like that wasn't announced and it's not going to be. But yeah, this is a very unfortunate trend, I have to say. The trend of just not doing physical versions of games it's growing. Like I would say rapidly. We look at Oblivion, as of right now, no physical version. Days Gone Remastered, no physical version. Forza Horizon 5, no physical version. And I just feel like it's very disappointing. I mean, it feels like we really are getting closer and closer to that dystopian future of like there just are no more physical games. I've always believed that there's always going to be physical games, but it's like at the rate things are going, it seems like we may look at a future, unfortunately, where like all publishers just kind of shake hands and agree, like we just don't do physical games. Nobody does physical games. And I feel like, I know I'm jumping to a conclusion there, but it's a little bit concerning. It's accelerating, unfortunately. The all digital era. I mean, for a lot of people, they don't care. The reason why publishers are even doing this is because that's how most people are playing games. That's how they're playing games, right? So you can't fully blame the publisher. They're just kind of following the trend that gamers are setting. And this is why I always try to encourage people like buy some games physically if you can. Like I always want to encourage that just because even if you're just part of that small pie, right? Like you're contributing to it. And the publishers are going to be forced to look at that. But I saw people were very upset with the Ghost of Yote Collector's Edition announcement, where there's no steelbook, there's no physical game, and this is why I have less than zero interest in collector's editions for anything. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a collector's edition enthusiast that always buys collector's editions, but yeah, dude, like to me that just sounds like a bad deal. Like why? Like I'm not. If you're going to go for a collector's edition of a game, you would think at the very least you get a physical version of that game, and they're just not doing it. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. It's a digital world. Bosca, you're saying you bought Dragon Ball Sparking Zero physical yesterday since it was cheaper? Well, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. MBG, please look at Boss Cat. He wants your attention. He wants treats. That's what he wants. Make no mistake, that's what that boy wants. Some people own a digital PS5. Yeah. They should let you pick. That's what they should do. When you order your collector's edition, do you want a physical or digital version of the game? I mean, would that really be so difficult? I don't think it would be. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the logistics of that are actually a nightmare. I don't know. But it sounds on paper like it wouldn't be that difficult. Like, just let people pick. I mean, I do understand that a lot of people have a digital only console, so it would kind of hurt them. Hold on. T1000 Whisperer, with a $5 donation in the form of a super chat, but no text. I like the name though, T1000 Whisperer. What is bro whispering? He's whispering something. Hanzo, is that you? Oh, just a thank you? Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Oh, hold on, my studio crashed again. Give me just a moment. I see we have another super chat from Lux as well. Lux, thank you for all the super chats, man. I do appreciate it. It helps a lot. I'm just sorry that my YouTube studio, like every hour, seemingly has to crash consistently on the hour. I really don't know why. It's kind of unbelievable. But Lux says, I'm expecting GTA 6 Online to paywall all the best stuff behind their GTA Plus sub-service. They'll make absolute crazy money. You know what? I completely forgot that that's even a thing. Wow. Holy shit, you're right. They have a GTA Online sub-service, man. And yeah, I can only imagine how they're going to leverage that. I can only imagine how they're going to leverage that for GTA Online 2. Bro, I completely forgot. Yeah, it's gonna be absurd how much money Take-Two Interactive and Rockstar make. I'm rooting for them, but there's also like a level of concern, like how much should they make? Corey says Boss Awakens. Bro, I've been trying to encourage the audience. Like we gotta move that member goal bar a little bit, because Boss is he ain't gonna rest. He ain't gonna rest till he gets his treats. They'll be swimming in cash. Yeah, they will. No, I didn't try to pre-order the Switch 2 Green Ninja. I'm going to be waiting on it. I'll probably get it later on down the line sometime. Got to get that Red Dead Redemption 3 funding up. With how much money GTA 6 is going to make in GTA Online 2, Red Dead 3 probably never has to happen, unfortunately. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying. Start doing giveaways. I've done a couple of giveaways. Not many, but I've done a few. They're going to build the game as a platform thing with GTA 6. Yeah, I mean, GTA Online 2, you're going to be able to make your own games inside that universe. So, Mafia just announced official gameplay trailer on the 8th. So, no GTA trailer 2 in May. Well, I want to go on record, or I want it to go on record, that I said numerous times that June sounds like the best time. Like June to me is the most likely time. May seemed like more of a possibility, and still could be. To be fair, it still could be. Just because the Mafia trailer is dropping on the 8th doesn't mean they couldn't drop anything in May. But I would have assumed if Sony does have marketing rights, that maybe the end of May could be more likely. But June sounds about right to me. It's right in the middle of the year, you know? If they're going for like a late October, early November release, that would give them more than enough time to market it. Switch 2 is the most dystopian nightmare of a gaming console in the history of gaming. I mean, is it? I mean, like, it makes me scared. Everybody, I think, thought that it was going to be Sony. And I feel like it's actually Nintendo. Like, everybody thought Sony was the big villain. And they might become a bigger villain, right? But it's like, I don't know. I've seen so much negativity towards the Switch 2 that but the thing about it is I don't think it matters at all. That's the crazy part. Like, what you just said might be right, but I'm pretty sure it won't matter. And I don't know what that means. I don't know exactly what that means. Let me. Lux with another super chat says August. They have a history of 3 months before launch. Yeah. I think at this point we're probably better off just not trying to predict. Although I do think there is logic behind your prediction. There is logic behind it. August could work. Yeah. Maybe they're just going to skip spring and the beginning of summer. Or like, I guess August would be more like kind of the middle of summer. I could see that. When is the next Call of Duty releasing? Isn't that close to Ghost of Yotei? I don't believe we've gotten a date for the next Call of Duty. I don't even think there was a rumor date. But yeah, I mean, every year that's the pattern, right? Like Call of Duty October, November. I don't think this year's going to be any different. Sony is slowly becoming more pro-consumer and releasing all over, more sales, etc. Nintendo is building an iron curtain to retain the pseudo-monopoly. Interesting evaluation. Yeah, the next Call of Duty is supposed to be Black Ops 7. You're saying that's lame, but I actually think people are going to be super stoked for it. You know why? Because apparently Black Ops 7 is going to be a direct sequel to Black Ops 2, which many people consider Black Ops 2 the best Call of Duty ever made. So it's going to be really interesting to see that roll out. I played Black Ops 2. That was a really good game. I don't know if it was my favorite, though. A lot of good memories with that one. MBG has prestige addiction like Boss has snack addiction. No. No, you don't know. Gaming Survivor, you don't know. Why are you saying that? What are you going on about? You don't know. We don't talk about such things here. I'm pretty sure people would be ashamed of me, bro. It would be like, all right. I've always been a fan of Call of Duty, though, man. I can't deny it. There are definitely Call of Duty games that have come out that I'm like, you lost me. But Call of Duty Ghost 2, do it. Do it. Do it, Microsoft. No balls. You won't do it. Only slightly addicted. Yeah, ever so slightly. The main thing I still play on Call of Duty is Zombies. And Zombies has just turned into a grind, basically. I mean, they release new maps and stuff, and they're enjoyable for a little bit, but Zombies is like my comfort food gaming right now, where like when I just want to kind of turn my brain off and just maybe put some music on or grind a bit, you know, that's what I do. I've been playing it a lot less, though, lately. You do think Black Ops 7 is lame? It's Call of Duty. You can make new stuff with it. It's that popular. I mean, yeah, it would be cool to see just a completely new type of Call of Duty, but that doesn't seem to be the trajectory they're going on. Or going in, I should say. After Helldivers 2, you can't enjoy zombies nearly as much. I get that. I do think Helldivers 2 is a better experience overall. The only problem I had with Helldivers 2 and why I couldn't really stick with it is because you definitely have to. You need to use your brain, and sometimes for me that's a problem. Like there are times where I just want to. I guess if you play at like really low difficulties, but that just makes me feel like crap. But if you want to play like at a higher difficulty or even just a somewhat medium difficulty, you have to pay close attention to what you're doing. You have to think. And sometimes I just like to play certain games where it's like I'm exhausted. I don't want to have to think about anything. You know, It's like it's like I want it to be the closest thing to the equivalent of like I'm like barely even playing. I don't know why. Like at that point, you might just figure like maybe just don't play anything, just relax, watch TV or something. But Forza's your game for that. I totally get that. Yeah, I've been playing Forza Horizon 5, and we'll probably do some gameplay of that in a separate stream after this. But I've been playing some Forza Horizon 5, and it's definitely good for that. Like you could just boot that game up and just start driving, which is pretty cool. The Days Gone Horde mode is going to be a blast. Oh yeah, hell yeah, dude. You're pumped for where Doom is going, but I hope you hope they'll keep a sick guitar jam. I hope so too, man. Yeah, I'm not like super stoked for Doom, but I did like what I saw. Dragonite says member train. I don't know. I've been trying to encourage everybody, but it's been stagnant. Stagnant. 7 Days to Die will be my favorite game for a long time. You have over 2,000 hours on it? Oh my god, dude. 7 Days to Die. I saw that release on console a little while ago. And yeah, it seemed like quite a few people were playing it. MBG, you need that new feature that Microsoft is talking about that helps play your games for you. Yeah, bro, I don't even want to play my own games anymore. MBG, what is it that makes Expedition 33 so good for someone who doesn't like turn-based games? It's a good question. I mean, I don't want to say that it's not that I don't like turn-based games. It's that I just never gravitated towards them. I have very minimal experience with turn-based games. I was seeing reviews from people regarding this, and they were saying that like this is the best turn-based game in like the last 20 years. And I'm like, oh, well, damn, I've been spoiled. And Dragon Knight does it. Dragon Knight was the one who was encouraging a member train, and he says, you know what? I'll try to kick it off here. I'll drop 5 more gifts for you guys. Dragon Knight wants you guys to go crazy. Okay, boss, that's not your soundbite though. That's the wrong. That soundbite shouldn't get you excited yet. Uh-oh. Dragon Knight, thank you so much for that though, man. Let me add that to the counter. Boss internally. That one gets me every time. It gets me every time, dude. Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, I heard Baldur's Gate 3 is amazing. Never got around to it though. What? Oh Jesus, bro. And we have Lux Space. You gotta tell me how to say your name, dude. Luke Space. I want to say Luke Space because we already have somebody here that I call Lux. But he drops another 5 bomb. How could you slap those memberships? How could you slap those memberships, bro?
How can you slap? How can you slap?
Dragon Knight says keep it up. Keep it up, guys. We're at 15 now. We're a 10 bomb away. We're 2 5s. And we do it. We hit the goal. Boss is getting excited. Boss knows now, dude. He actually knows. I feel like he didn't used to be like this. He knows when we're starting to get a member train. As you can clearly see. But yeah, I'm not sure how to say your name. Luke Space, Luke Space. I'll just say Luke Space. And if I'm saying it wrong or you would like me to change how I say it, please just tell me. And I will have no problem doing so. 8-Bit Process, thanks for the gifted. And Corey the Legend Landiga with the flex, bro. Corey comes in with the flex and he drops the 10 bomb. Boss, he did it. He did it again. For a moment there, Boss was crying internally. But here we are. No need for Boss to cry. We're going to give him some treats. We did it. We hit the goal. 25 crushed. Thank you guys so much for that. I knew we could do it. I knew we could get that member train going. All right. Come on. Let's go. These are the healthier treats, by the way. I think they're called greenies. There you go, man. I think they're like grain free. Like they don't have any grain in them or anything like that. So rejoice. We can now give boss treats with a little bit less guilt, you know? Healthy treats. But in all seriousness, thank you guys so much for the member gifts. You know, we are fan funded here. I say this all the time. I'm very grateful for the community we have. I'm very glad to have you guys. Awesome community. I love being able to have these conversations. And like I said, when we're done with today's regular stream, we're gonna do a gameplay stream. So I think what I'm gonna do today, we did some Claire Obscure gameplay yesterday. Today we're gonna do some Forza Horizon 5, and then tomorrow we're gonna do some Days Gone gameplay. So I mean, we're gaming, bro. We're gaming. Oops. Lux with the super chat says, "Mad GTA 6 Dare released the same year as Kojima and Friends 2." I just want to, Lux, I want to say I appreciate the way you put Kojima and Friends. Like it's the band Guns N' Roses. It's like Kojima's band. Kojima and Friends. You know what? I just had a great idea. A shirt. A band shirt that basically mimics the Guns N' Roses logo, but it's Kojima and Death Stranding 2 characters. And it says Kojima and Friends. That's a good idea, dude. And KH comes in and drops I don't know what currency that is, and I'm not sure how much that is, but either way, they drop a 119 something donation. KH, thank you so much for that, buddy. I'm sorry I don't know what currency that is, though. Kojima and Friends 2. I like that name. Copyright it now. I like that name for Death Stranding and Death Stranding 2. So actually, yeah, I did see that. Multiple content creators, not me. It's okay. I don't take it personally, Kojima. I understand. But yeah, a lot of content creators were flown out. And it's interesting the way they did it. They did it, I think, at Kojima Productions. They were able to preview Death Stranding 2. And on May 8th, we're going to get previews. And I have to say, I'm very interested in reading about these previews because I'm really curious to see what. Like, my assumption is that anybody who's previewing Death Stranding 2 did play Death Stranding 1. So I'm going to be really keen on finding out, like, what they ran into or what major changes there are, if any. Whether that be the flow or you'll allow it for a 50-50 profit share. 50-50 profit share, bro. Actually, speaking of merch, actually, I don't know if Mrs. MBG did this. Madam BG, is that what some of you guys call her? Madam BG. I just want to call her Megan because I don't know. I'm like tired of calling her Mrs. MBG. So I'll just call her Megan. But my wife, she was customizing a shirt and she showed it to me, and it was this weird website where it's like you customize your pet, whatever pets you have. They give you options. You just like upload pictures and they give you options, and they make it look like old like band tees or something. And she did it for Boss, and it looked insanely good. And at some point I'm going to have to get that. I don't know if I could make that my own merch. I don't think that's allowed, but I could at least try to wear it on stream. NOK 119 is like a $10 donation. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Thank you for the $10, KH. I do appreciate that. We have Oliver, a member for 24 months, and he says, MBG, I wasn't able to watch lately. I'm very busy now starting my own business. You come a long way, bro. Keep grinding. My membership ends here for now. Well, thank you so much, Oliver. And I wish you the best of luck with starting your own business. That's definitely a daunting task. And it's going to be, regardless of what happens, it's going to be an interesting ride, dude. So thank you so much for your support. And, obviously, I hope you can keep watching, and you're always welcome here, man. And you'll have to get back to me and let me know how it all goes. We have come a long way. We have. It's crazy where the time goes, man, because, like, I don't know. We're sitting here talking about Ghost of Yotei and Death Stranding 2, or sorry, Kojima and Friends 2, and it literally just feels like yesterday, that I was covering Ghost of Tsushima or especially Death Stranding, and I'm like, my God. I mean, where does the time actually go? Dragonite with a $2 chat says, find me Tsushima Collector's Edition? Dragonite, if I understand you correctly, are you asking me to look up the Ghost of Tsushima Collector's Edition? Or do you mean Yotei? Because the Ghost of Yotei Collector's Edition was just announced yesterday. You bet most of the content creators flown out are not even Death Stranding fans or Kojima fans. They get picked on channel size. Oh, God. I hope that's not true. I hate to say it, but there's probably some truth to that. And I get it. Like, from a business level, I understand why they're doing that. But, man, that's kind of depressing. The time hath been stolen by MGO. Dude, I'm still waiting, man. I don't think Konami's going to talk about anything yet, but I got it filed in my brain that Konami did go on record saying that, MGO is something they're thinking about, but they're just going to, they're going to gauge fan interest, something along those lines. And right now they're just focused on Metal Gear Delta's release. But dude, they got to do something with Metal Gear Online. I think they would be crazy not to. You misabandoned MBG. That guy had a crazy twitch to his eye. Yeah. Well, it's probably, I understand it from an entertainment value, Sean, but it's probably for the best that I'm not like that anymore. We have come a long way. I should be flown. The truth is, if I had to fly out to play a game, and I know I'm so lame for saying this, but I wouldn't. I'm good, dude. Do you want to be flown out to play Death Stranding 2 and meet Kojima? It's like, I'm good. I like Kojima, but, I'm not trying to. Oh, who am I kidding? I would probably take the offer. I would. I think there would be like a bit of an internal battle where it's like, so I have to do stuff? Like, like you're making me do stuff. I gotta go do stuff. Okay. No, it's not. Really, it's just that I would be so intimidated to go to Japan. I don't think I would be able to. I would be too intimidated. I'm like, dude, I'm going to end up offending everybody accidentally. It's going to be bad. It's going to be real bad. But that would be so cool. That would be very cool. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah. I don't think I could pass that up. Doing stuff? Hell no. Don't make me do stuff. I am a believer in the don't meet your heroes thing. I am. I really am. Like, not to say that just I have this overall negative outlook of people in general, but I do think that it's just better not to meet your heroes. The less you know, the better. I did not get a Switch, no. We need to send MBG to Sony HQ. Yeah, send me to Sony HQ. I'll sort them out. I'll help sort them out. We're bringing Jim Ryan out of retirement. No, I'm just kidding. Mark Cerny, you are now the CEO of PlayStation. First order of business, Knack 3, PS6 launch title. Oh, Ray, that's sad to hear. Yeah, that's what I mean, man. That's sad to hear. So you gotta, yeah. What are you saying, MBG? But I meet you all the time. I'm your neighbor. That would be so weird. No. Gaming Survivor, I refuse to believe it. Now, this explains so much. But anyway, Days Gone Remastered. Yeah. I would like to do another Days Gone review. Interestingly enough, I guess it wouldn't be appropriate to do this, but I do have 2 separate Days Gone review videos on my channel. One was my initial impressions of the game when I put, I think, like 10 hours into it. And the second was when I platinumed it. I waited till I platinumed the game and then I did a full review. I should just upload that video. Like, here you go. Here's my Days Gone review. You remember I called IGN nuts or something like that for their take? Yeah, I did put out this video. It got like really good viewership where I basically was very frustrated with both GameSpot and IGN, uh, especially GameSpot, where they gave Days Gone a 5 out of 10. And I'm like, you guys are trash, bro. Like, just in no universe is this a 5 out of 10 game. And whoever you had reviewing this game should never review a game again because it's just so far off the mark. It's absurd. A 7 out of 10 I could totally get. Even I don't know, like a 6.5 I think is still really pushing it, but like a 5 out of 10 just flat out mediocre, not very good game. Like just a meh game. Like, no, dude. Come on. I'm not trying to blow smoke in the direction of Days Gone, but it's like it's not that. It's not a 5 out of 10 game. Nothing annoys me more. Well, there are definitely things that annoy me more, but it is very annoying when you come across like those reviews for very good games where it's just like, yeah, 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, it's just bad game. Like, what's wrong with you? Go, like, stop reviewing games. Patrick Murphy, that's a cursed sentence, dude. There's so much wrong with that sentence. Half-Life 3, dude, Half-Life 3 apparently is real. And I no joke. It's apparently a real video game that's in development. The GameSpot review for the game Prey was horrible. Sean, yeah, I know, man. I covered that too, and it just wasn't fair. It just wasn't fair. Days Gone didn't get a fair shake. I understand. The one thing I understood, and I remember because not that long ago in a members lounge we did not that long ago, I reacted to my older Days Gone videos, and I was listening into my older self or my younger self in 2019, and I was pointing out how like it's one thing if the reviewers want to criticize Days Gone for bugs or some issues they're running into because they didn't get the proper patched version. That's totally fair and understandable. But to hyper focus on things that frankly are agenda driven, where it's like, yeah, this isn't how you should be reviewing the game because this isn't what people are interested in hearing about. You should just judge the game on its actual merits, objectively. Like, what is it doing well? What is it struggling with? I understand that reviews are opinions at the end of the day, but sometimes that's what makes reviews so annoying, is like some people's opinions just suck and they end up inserting that into or like projecting that onto whatever it is they're reviewing. And that's why I always tell people to like, you got to take all reviews with a grain of salt, no matter how good or how bad, and understand that it's just it's a person's opinion, You really have to determine if you trust that person or not. The trouble that awaits the announcement of Half-Life 3 is astounding. Well, what's interesting is we've been covering the rumors of a We've been covering the rumors of a Steam console. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. Hopefully Ghost of Yotei isn't repetitive like Ghost of Tsushima. Well, talking... Yeah, my screen's too bright. I've been saying that. I'm going to have to... I'm, like, used to it at this point, but it's definitely too bright. Like, it looks like I'm freaking, you know, staring at, like, the gates of heaven or whatever. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm staring into the gates of heaven, bro. Luckily, I'm wearing my hat. Otherwise, we would have gotten blinded. Yeah. I almost decided to take the hat off today. But then I was like, nah. It's starting to get warm out. Backwards for Deacon. Oh, yeah, yeah. All right, good shit. Guys, I'm happy to announce that I have just received a code for Days Gone Remastered. Hype! And thank you, guys. First Sony code ever. We did it. We did it. I'm freaking out inside. I'm freaking out. No, that's awesome, though. I'm stoked, dude. We made it. Maybe I can be flown out. I can be flown out to Kojima HQ next. Yeah, I'm excited now though, man. I mean, I was excited either way. I was gonna be playing it either way, but shout out to Sony for the code, dude. Good stuff. I'm gonna get invited to the Game Awards. I'm gonna be a presenter at the Game Awards. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the Game Awards dressed as Deacon St. John and present the award for best remaster. Yeah, we'll keep going, Sage Infinite. We'll keep going. That is awesome, though. Exciting stuff. Man, it's so crazy. I feel like this week truly has been nuts with games. I mean, I'm gonna be Kojima's next friend. I'm gonna be taking Jeff Keighley's spot soon. Watch out, Jeff. No, that's very cool though. Yeah, shout out to PlayStation and Sony Ben for that. Hold on one sec, guys. I'm actually gonna see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can just get that installed now. Then. That DS2 code is loading. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I don't know, man. I'll see what I can do with that. Hold on. uh, where you guys at? You have Days Gone from PS Plus, so you'd have to buy it. That's not happening. I don't believe it. Read me the code, MBG. I'll check for you to see if it's real. Oh my god. Hold on. Guys, sorry. Sorry. Just give me one more. I'm getting all my wires mixed up here. All right. All right, we're good now. Boss shall become a boss, hunting you, fleeing into the woods. Y'all thought velociraptors were fierce, but damn. Boss kill y'all dead. Corey, you feeling all right, man? I hope that's not true, though. No, boss is nice. You know who's more likely to hunt me, though? Like, and chase me in the woods and shit is Luna. She's kind of the vicious one a little bit. I don't know if she's still learning. I mean, she's like a year old now, but she scratched me earlier. I'm like, damn. Vicious. Absolutely vicious. All right. Let me I'll put this in here so we can start downloading some Days Gone. I don't think there's any kind of embargo on it or anything. Shit. All right, there we go. It's 36 gigabytes. Not too bad. Which is nice, actually, because a lot of the games I've been installing lately are like freaking like 120 gigabytes and whatnot. So that's nice. It's very nice. That's what I'm. Yeah, I don't know. I did ask to see if there's any kind of embargo. I know, if I'm not mistaken, I think Days Gone Remastered is out in certain regions right now. So I would like to stream some, but I don't. I did also want to stream some Forza Horizon 5 too, because I feel bad because, you know, I feel like I've been neglecting Forza Horizon 5 a bit. State of Decay 3. That's a game that I hope we get some gameplay and a release date for. Was Clair Obscur 100 gigabytes? I don't think Clair Obscur was actually that large. Let me see. It's 41 gigabytes. So it's comparable to Days Gone. I know like Forza Horizon 5 was massive. That game was like 120 gigabytes or something. And I know Indiana Jones was like 120 gigabytes. So some Microsoft games, dude. What do you want? What are you doing? Yeah, I think they did a good job with the compression for Days Gone Remastered. I would have expected it to definitely be larger than 38 gigabytes. So they did a good job there. As your neighbor, I'll disconnect from your Wi-Fi so you can speed up your bandwidth. Thank you. Thank you, Gaming Survivor. I do appreciate that. All right. Major balding gamer. Thanks, man. Just catching strays out here. GTA 6, 300 gigabytes. I would expect GTA 6 is going to be a massive game. I mean, I'm thinking over 200 gigabytes. I mean, surely GTA 6 is going to be a multi-disc game. Watch them shock everybody, though, and like GTA 6 comes out, it's like, oh, well, you know, it's 50 gigabytes. Diego, I'm actually not sure. I'll wait around a little bit and see if I get a response or not. Bald is beautiful. I'm bald too. Multi-disc. So is there anybody here? Oh, yeah, you're right. Kenny. Yeah. It's like 160 gigabytes for Forza. I think Indiana Jones was the one that was 120. Yeah, Forza is like the biggest install, dude. It's digital only as well. That's what I'm thinking too, Diego. Yeah. Is indie good? It's pretty good. Yeah. I haven't been able to play much of it. I put about like 7 or 8 hours, give or take, into it. And it's a well-made game, dude. It's more open than I would have expected. Very exploration based. Bald is easy maintenance. You're saying your forehead got too big. Bald usually is easy maintenance. Yeah. I mean, I do have to shave my head a lot. The only time it becomes annoying is if I let my hair grow in too much. Then I have to like buzz it first and then shave it. So you got to just make sure you keep up with it. That's what I've learned anyway. You're bald. You're bold in your Totokism convictions. Well, the age of Totokism is upon us, man. For real this time. Dude's the straight up CEO of Sony now, so, you know. Xbox discs are 50 gigabytes. They would need multiple discs for most of their own games if they were entirely on the disc. MBG Ecstasis is claiming Gamepass has 50 million subscribers. I could believe that. That sounds about right. The question is that good for Microsoft? I mean, it's not bad for them, but I mean, like, is that... I don't know what that means for Microsoft. I feel like 50 million's good. If that's true, they may have overtaken PlayStation Plus. And PlayStation Plus, I wouldn't be surprised if that dropped because, well, I mean, it seems like PlayStation Plus started to stagnate for a while. But I guess I would have to ask how Microsoft feels about it. If they had 50 million, they would have announced it. Maybe they're very close to it, or maybe they just crossed it. I mean, people are kind of wondering, like, why Microsoft stacked so many games in April, dropping on Game Pass or whatever. And it's like, well, you know, maybe this is why. I don't know. Hold on. All right. Sorry, Days Gone review embargo lifts April 25th. Oh, okay. Actually, hold on. Just got back to me. There is no embargo. Well, shit. Awesome. I'm glad I waited. Well, it's time. It's Days Gone time. Play it, damn it. Yeah, I mean, I should stream it. Not even, you think Game Pass isn't even at 40 million subs yet? 50 million sounds like a lot. It sounds like a big jump. Because wasn't the last we heard it was like 35 or 36 or something? Shems, yeah, I mean, this is a first, and I'm very happy. I don't know what it means for the future, but a big shout out to PlayStation and Sony Ben, man, for hooking me up with a code for Days Gone Remastered. First code I've ever received from Sony. Very nice. Very nice of them. Try out the Horde mode. It's been a long time since I played it, so yeah, I'll have to. Konami for Metal Gear Solid next. Dude, I've been saying, like, that's a goal. If I could somehow secure a review code for Metal Gear, now that would be some next level. I have no idea though. I mean, I'm still figuring it out. So that's Konami. I don't even know how to get in touch with Konami. I don't know. Maybe I'll just tweet at them. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think you can do that. Oh, today is Microsoft's earnings. That's today. Oh, okay. Maybe they did hit 50 million. Well, see, that's the thing, dude. If they hit 50 million, I'm certain Microsoft would be happy with that. Because their long-term goal, I think, by 2030 is to hit like 100 million. Which, I mean, that's going to be a challenge, but that's what they're striving for. Looked up the Konami thing. You have to email the customer service. I looked it up. They will send you email to promotions. Okay. Ray, thanks for looking that up for me, man. Ray's like my personal AI assistant here. So, email their customer service. I guess that would technically be a way. Yeah. Getting contacts with PR folks here and there will help you refer to others. Yeah, that seems to be the way it works, which makes sense. I mean, they can't just give stuff out to anybody, but I think we're on a pretty good roll right now. The Claire Obscure code was the most unexpected for me. That I was like, I felt kind of flattered. I'm like, oh shit, you guys want me to review this game? That's pretty cool. I didn't expect that. Very glad I did. The Microsoft stuff is unexpected too, but that's very cool of them. So I'll keep it going, man. I'll do the best I can. I do want to make sure I can do a stream of Forza Horizon 5. The reason why I want to stream Forza Horizon 5 is because I want to play music and see what happens. I'm pretty sure I'll be okay. Like, the stream will get copyrighted, but I'm okay if that happens. But I kind of want, I don't know. I'm like, maybe we could do both. Screw it. I don't know. I mean, it is only 2 o'clock. Dreadful83 with a $2 super chat saying, MEG, this week you're doing a great job. Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know what my expectations were for like my review of Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. The viewership's not great, I'll be honest, but I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. The watch time's pretty decent. And, I think maybe if I try to keep up with it, and just do the best I can, maybe it can grow into something. At the very least, I do know that people very much appreciate it, and that makes me feel good. I was quite surprised. I was getting a lot of positive feedback from some of you guys yesterday with the review video for Claire Obscure. Somebody calling me the GOAT reviewer, and I'm like, well, I don't know about that, dude, but thank you so much. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate you for, sticking around, showing support. Oh, Chris, I'm sorry, buddy. My bad. I got you. Chris Brown, member for 21 months, says, I'm loving Oblivion. Got it yesterday. Now all I want to do is play it and explore. The intro says, play the story or do whatever you like. Love that. I'm glad to hear that, Chris. Yeah. People seem to be having a great time with Oblivion. And I'm not surprised. I mean, Oblivion, I think, is a very beloved game, but I'm not into Bethesda RPGs. I don't see myself playing Oblivion, but even I was impressed with what I saw. I'm like, man, that's Virtuous understood the assignment for that remaster. I mean, it checks off all the boxes of a remake. So I'm glad to hear, man. Hanzo, you're saying you were here before 5K subs, so why wouldn't I stick around? See what you did there. That's awesome, dude. Before 5K subs, how long ago was that? Dude, that means you had to have been here since like 2017, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. I think this August, the channel will be 9 years old. So, yeah. Roadkill 8018, a member for 9 months, says, how is Days Gone? Is the realism as good as they say they made it? Well, I haven't actually played the remaster yet. I just got the code to do that. Or to play it. So I can't tell you, but I can tell you what I played of the original Days Gone was awesome. It's a somewhat realistic game. Yeah, it's still a game, and you're still doing some crazy stuff from time to time, but it's relatively grounded, I would say. You've played all their RPGs except for Oblivion, and it's the perfect Bethesda game. Yeah, Virtuous Studio is also working on Metal Gear Solid Delta, so they're moving up in the world, man. They're moving up. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do next, right? And Roadkill 8018 drops another membership gift. Roadkill, thank you so much for that, man. That brings us up to 26. So he's keeping the train going. He's keeping it going. Triple Anus. Absolutely Roadkill. Morrowind, greater than Oblivion. You hate when Deacon screams at the radio. I remember that. Deacon seems a little crazy. Just a little bit, you know, when he talks to himself sometimes. But I remember somebody left a comment a long time ago. They're like, well, you'd probably be doing the same thing. Think about it. You'd probably be doing the same thing if you were out there like that. Let's see here. Please let the Fallout 3 remaster be real. I'm pretty sure that's real. I do that already on stream. Let me hold on, let me tweet out a thank you to Sony and or PlayStation and Sony Bend. Guys, give me 1 second. I just want to tweet out a thank you. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I feel like I'm being spoiled, you know? I feel spoiled. I do. Oblivion greater than Skyrim? Sam Witwer talks about that on a podcast. It was actually his idea to have his character kind of talk to himself while alone in the shit. It worked. Yeah. It worked. I liked it. I liked that Deacon St. John seemed like a little bit crazy. Just a little, yeah, not fully, just, you know, he's struggling. He's talking to himself. He's got to keep himself going. Am I still going to buy Days Gone and support the devs? I'm going to encourage everybody else to buy Days Gone to support the devs. No, maybe I will. Maybe. I mean, you know, I am holding out hope that they're going to do a physical version, though. Like, that's the big thing that I'm kind of waiting for, where I feel like they got to do it, right? Right? Like, I mean, how could they not do a physical version at some point? If they do a physical version, they could charge $60 for it. I'll buy it. But yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, saying that was funny. I'm going to convince all you to go support the studio. But really, though, I do want people to, if it's within their means, to consider supporting it, because I really want to see a Days Gone 2, bro. That's like half of what this stream has been, me talking about how much I want to see that. A physical copy of Clair Obscur, that's something I would like to secure. Yeah. That's a game. This is what I mean, bro. Like, these companies got to make physical versions of games, because there are people like me where it's like, I will just buy it because it's a physical version. Like, I have the game digitally from the code, but like, I want that on my shelf. Absolutely. In hindsight, it's strange they didn't do a PS5 version in 2021, 22. Oh, yeah, actually, that's true. I don't think I could buy it again. I didn't even, yeah, I think you're right. Is the Remaster Pro enhanced? Let me check. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we covered that actually. Hold on. Let's see. I know that there's like three different modes you can play Days Gone Remastered on the PS5 Pro, and one of them, I think it's the quality mode, actually runs at a downsampled like 5K resolution, which I'm actually curious to check out. Put the game on the screen, brother. What are you doing? I think it's still installing. I don't miss his MBG's account. We're like, what's this doing here? We're like, I don't know. Because of you, I'm getting Days Gone on Steam. You're very passionate about this game. I hope you enjoy it, man. If you don't, please don't blame me. But I think you might. I think it's a good game. Yeah. I could see it being a game that maybe even if you don't see it through to the end, I think there's a lot it's doing good, like well, very well. I think people will gravitate towards. Do I think we'll get a Sackboy's Big Adventure 2 or 3 at some point? I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, that was the last Sackboy game we got. I don't know. I want to say probably not. Well, I don't know. Maybe at like the launch of the PS6, they could try to do a sequel for it, potentially. I know. I didn't send the tweet out because like I didn't want to sit here silently tweeting. So I'm going to wait till I wrap this stream up. And then in between this stream and the gameplay stream, I do. Media Molecule didn't actually do Sackboy: A Big Adventure. No. That was made by, oh God, what's the name of that studio? I forget the name of the studio. It wasn't. Now I got to look it up. Sumo Digital. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't Media Molecule. It was Sumo Digital. They were the ones who did it. Yeah. So I would assume that if they wanted to do a sequel, that's probably who they would try to court to do it. Sumo Digital did have another XDev project from the leaks, but it might have been canceled. It was a game as a service. Really? Really? I didn't know that. Chris Brown with a $2 chat says, annoyed Sony lied about no graphics modes on Pro. I don't think they lied about it. I understand the annoyance, but Mark Cerny seemed to indicate that he was basically saying that the idea, the goal in mind is that, you know, it blends the performance mode and the fidelity mode so you don't have to choose. But at the end of the day, as is always the case with PlayStation and with their hardware, devs are free to do what they want, you know? So it's not really fair to, I would say, place the blame fully on. I mean, Sony tries to, like, you know, nudge developers in the direction that they want them to go in, but they can't force them. And right now, it seems like most developers are still content with, you know, doing different modes and versions. And I don't think it's a problem. I mean, from what I can tell, the enhanced mode, well, I'll judge for myself, but the enhanced mode in Days Gone basically seems like it is the blend between performance and fidelity. That's what it's striving for. Did I remove my last video? No, I did not. My last video was covering the news regarding Ghost of Yote. So I didn't remove it. Is it not showing up? Let's see. No, it's still there. I didn't remove it. There was a list that leaked a few years ago. Death Stranding 2 is on it. Project Ocean. Project Bates. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I remember. There were quite a few. That was a PlayStation specific list that leaked, and there were quite a few things on there. I mean, one of those ended up being Until Dawn Remake, Rise of the Ronin. I mean, you would assume that any game that was on that list has already either been announced or canceled. Yeah, Project Ocean, that was Death Stranding 2. There was one game project on there actually that I think still hasn't been announced. Project Heartbreak, and I'm pretty sure that's Until Dawn 2. pretty sure that's Until Dawn 2 with Fire Sprite. Maybe. Fire Sprite's still working on something, so what it is they're working on, we don't know, but if you look at job listings, it seems pretty obvious. Oh, by the way, I think the reviews for Until Dawn, the movie, came out, and I don't think it's looking too good. I think we might have our first miss of when it comes to PlayStation productions. I only saw one review from, I think, like Discussing Film or something, and I think they gave it like 2 out of 5 stars. I'm gonna go see it. Actually, I'm probably gonna go see it on Friday. This is MBG actually, or Megan. Again, I'm trying to just call her Megan. She's excited to see it. Until Dawn review, new contender for worst video game movie ever made. Oh Jesus. Okay, I didn't realize it was that bad. Hold on now. Yo, what? Wait, hold on. It has a 70 on Metacritic though. Oh wait, no, is that for the game? I'm very confused right now. Let me see. Yeah, that's for the game, not the movie. So the Daily Beast says Until Dawn raises the bar for how bad video game movies can be. Oh, fuck me, dude. Is it that it's going to be that bad? No. I had some hope for this. Rotten Tomatoes, let me check. Uh 61%. So that's not that bad. I mean, geez, with the way that one review is titled, I would have thought it was at like a 10% or something. You think you're saying a 61% is horrible? I mean, I don't know. I've seen movies that are much lower than 61%, and I kind of walked away from them being like, Well, hold on. I'm curious to read this review though, because it's saying it's one of the worst video game movies ever made. How do you cinematically adapt a video game that itself was designed as an interactive movie? Until Dawn's answer is that you create something that resembles its source material in name only. Returning to the horror fold after his forays into subpar superhero spectaculars, Shazam and its sequel, director David F. Sandberg crafts a gory riff on Groundhog Day, trapping a group of friends in a nocturnal cycle of mayhem and madness. His, I don't know what word that is, contraption, however, lacks any sense of internal logic and is even lighter on surprising scares, dispensing only cliches that are as moldy, he said moldy, as the haunted house in which the characters are confined. Bro, we got our first review with a mold reference. I was meant to read this review. Gaming Survivor, wake up, bro. We did it. If we get a basement reference next, I'm convinced that I'm the one who actually wrote this review. So it says here, focusing on anonymous, disposable, and frequently annoying kids is one of many ways in which Sandberg hews to genre convention. He doubles down on familiar spooky elements by his tale's midway point when it's already indulged in, among other things, possessions, masked psychos, screaming ghouls, roaring monsters, creepy dolls, alien titans, aged witches, and various doors and rocking chairs that move without anyone visibly touching them. Until Dawn is a Halloween grab bag of treats moviegoers have ingested innumerable times before, although that's not immediately clear at outset when its protagonists arrive at the final stop on a trip designed to retrace the steps of missing for a year Melanie. The leader of this crew is unluckily named Clover, who's Mel's grieving sister and who's accompanied on the trek by her ex Max, bisexual Nina. What the? Okay, hold on. I'm not. Blah, blah, blah. It almost sounds like they're giving away the whole movie. I just want to know. Somewhere buried deep inside of this nightmare are ideas about loss, grief, and togetherness, but Sandberg never fully or coherently unearths them, instead resorting to concepts and stunts that are so tiresome they make this dud the equivalent of an exhausting and unfulfilling all-nighter. All right, so yikes. That's a pretty bad review. This film is for gamers. All right, let me see what other what's like the highest review so far though. I'll just read some of the Rotten Tomato reviews. Until Dawn is a gleeful reimagining of the classic slasher film, modifying the tropes enough to turn the familiar fresh. It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre without the chainsaws, Friday the 13th on a different date, a wide awake nightmare on Elm Street. A B+ score. So that's the highest, I think, Rotten Tomato review. So it does seem like this might be one of those movies where it's like you're just going to have to decide for yourself if you like it or not, because that sounds like the opposite of what we just read. Next, we have Daily Dead. That was Original Sin, by the way. Daily Dead gave it a 3 out of 5, saying, so Until Dawn is a crummy Until Dawn movie, but a marginally enjoyable riff on metatextual horror goof-offs. Top critic from The Wrap says, if you're just looking for reasons to jump out of your seat, there are worse ways to spend your time, and a lot of better ways too. Okay. So that actually sounds like what the middle of the road stuff is kind of what I'm expecting for the Until Dawn movie, where it's like, it's not great. It's not horrible. It's just in the middle. It's fine. It's just fine. Why am I seeing Patrick? Why are you talking about dripping that maple syrup? What is going on, bro? Let me just read a couple more here. We have that hashtag show saying Until Dawn is a scary, well-directed, capably made outing that boasts smart cinematography and excellent, continually evolving production design while playing loose homage to its namesake game. Next up, we have Mama's Geeky. Who are these people? Cabin in the Woods meets Groundhog Day. See, Megan loves Cabin in the Woods. That's like one of her favorite horror movies, so I'm pretty sure she's going to enjoy this movie. That's what this trailer, the Until Dawn movie trailer, reminded her of. Now Hanzo's saying Kevin Bacon and maple syrup. Okay. Yes, actually, Hanzo, she does like that movie too. We watched that one. So Cabin in the Woods meets Groundhog Day. This movie is a lot of bloody fun, gnarly deaths, great cast, and lots of jump scares. Exactly what I wanted as someone who never played the game. Jordy reviews it, says an entertaining survivalist horror featuring inventive kills and intriguing world building. We Live Entertainment says, rather than shy away from the grisly good stuff, we have a film full on embracing the imagination of a deranged former horror shorts filmmaker, and I mean that in the best possible ways. I was happy staying up for Until Dawn. Then we have a negative review here from comicbook.com saying Until Dawn ultimately feels like a missed opportunity, unable to carve out its own identity or work within the original game universe. Polygon actually gave it a negative review saying Until Dawn's movie adaptation doesn't fail because it's not faithful to the game. It fails because it's boring in a way that the game never was. We have another top critic here from The Guardian saying on its own, lower stakes terms, Until Dawn is a passable, if rather unfrightening frightener, made with some skill and enlivened by a strong trope of young actors. And then the last one I'll read here is a negative saying, this is from the, you know what, New York Times. Do we really care what the New York Times thinks? Well, they're saying watching someone play a video game that they never let you play is a singular kind of boring. A similar why am I here dullness arrives early and stays late in Until Dawn. So there you go. I mean, that's the Until Dawn movie reviews. And I'm going to go see it. And I'll get, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll bring Megan on again, and we'll maybe we could do like a members only like Until Dawn movie review or something. We'll watch it together. I'll just stream myself watching it. Yeah. You have the absolute worst ear infection. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, ear infections suck, dude. You'll fly out. No, she didn't play Detroit Become Human with me. I didn't even get to finish that game. Can't afford it, but I'll make it happen. Guys, all right, so we're going to do a last call here. Days Gone Remastered, finished installing. We'll do a last call, and hold on 1 second. So if you want to drop any more support, when we end the stream, I'm going to boot up another stream where we're going to play some Days Gone Remastered. But I want to give one last opportunity here. If you want to drop any more member gifts, we're sitting at 26 members on the day. Any more super chats, any direct donations, anything of that nature. Now is the time to do it before we wrap it up and go play some Days Gone. No bacon today, but I'm going to have some tomorrow with an egg sandwich. Thank you for letting me know. So Claire Obscure Expedition 33 opens to 51,000 concurrent players on Steam. This is really good for a first-time studio, and I expect it to get even higher also on Gamepass. That's great to see, man. I hope that number climbs. I mean, you know what's great? Like right now is there's like 3 games here that I have no problem recommending to anybody, you know. Claire Obscure, play it. If you're even a little bit interested, my take on Claire Obscure is if you like RPG games, you should play Claire Obscure. That's like my final verdict on that game. Like if you like RPGs at all, you need to play that game. If you are a fan of racing games at all, you should try to play Forza Horizon 5. Somebody asked me yesterday on Twitter, by the way, they're like, is Forza Horizon 5 better than Gran Turismo 7? And my answer to that is no, because they're both racing games, but they're very different racing games. My response to that person was, if you are a racing game enthusiast, you should play both. You should play both because they both are excellently crafted and they're both incredible at what they do. So rather than kind of pit them against one another, it feels more like if you're a racing game enthusiast, you're going to want to play both of these games. Absolutely. Now, I'm less of a sim racer. So I know it sounds like blasphemy, but I do lean a little bit more towards Forza Horizon just because I can drive around in the open world and destroy shit, you know? But yeah, Gran Turismo 7 is clearly expertly crafted. Figuratively Literal renews his membership. He's answering that last call, bro. Figuratively Literal, thank you so much for that, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That brings us up to 27 on the day. We want to round that off at 30. Do we want to get it up to 30? And then we can go play some Days Gone Remastered. I'll leave that up to you guys. It's awesome to have both available on PS5. I agree. I mean, that's really the only problem is if you want to play all these games, well, I guess if you can afford it, right? It's definitely not going to be cheap. But if you can afford it, are you going to have enough time? How are you going to balance that out? But when it comes to Days Gone as well, like I've spent pretty much the majority of the stream recommending it to people. It's an incredible game too. If you want a really well-made open world zombie game experience where the hordes are incredible, I highly recommend Days Gone. In this case, I get, Remastered, probably going to be the better version. Oh, and it crashed again. We're not lucky and can work from home like you. I know. I try not to take for granted what I'm able to do here. That's why I always try to let you guys know how thankful I am for the support I have of this community. Never try to take advantage of it, you know? Yeah, I agree with that. I played GT7 in VR, and it was insane. GT7 in PSVR 2 is insane. Why are Nintendo YouTubers so sensitive? I had one channel block me just for asking a gaming question. They're overly attached to their machines. I don't know, man. I don't follow any Nintendo YouTubers. You think many people have blocked you, Hanzo? You can't see half the chat anymore? I know what you meant. I know what you meant. Yeah, sometimes the chat is a little bit slower. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap up today's regular stream and discussion stream. I want to ask you, as you are filing out, please make sure you hit that like button. We're sitting at 153 likes. See if we can like bump that up to 160, 170 maybe. We are going to be doing a Days Gone Remastered stream immediately after this. So make sure you have notifications turned on. I'm going to get that set up, and we're going to play that for a little while. And yeah, so before I head out, I want to extend a big thank you to everybody who showed support today. We are sitting at 27 members. Thank you for getting us to the 25 member goal and going beyond that. I also want to thank everybody who dropped any super chats. We got some really good super chats today or direct donations. Really appreciate that support. You guys are the sponsors of the channel. You guys make this possible. Without your support, it simply wouldn't be possible. So thank you so much for that. And I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. So if you see him in the comments with the timestamps, give him some thanks, show him some love. I know he really appreciates it. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for today's stream. Again, we're moving over to Days Gone Remastered. That stream is going to go up in just a couple of minutes. So I hope you guys will follow me over there. And yeah, so for most of you, I'll see you in the next stream in a couple of minutes. Anybody outside of that, I will catch you in probably tomorrow's stream. So until then, take care, everyone.